It's not just a crosstown rivalry. USC-UCLA can be an elimination game tonight. The Chargers have no choice but to change their offensive line after a retirement. And the Rams finalize their coaching staff without a longtime assistant. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is February 24th, 2026. Welcome back to the home office. Hey, do we have good stuff to discuss today? So if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. Now, we haven't expanded. Look at the scoreboard, even though yesterday there weren't any games involving LA teams. But tonight, Orlando is at the Lakers at 7:30, and Jackson Hayes is doubtful. USC is at UCLA at 8. This is what we wanted to talk about. The teams are going to play each other twice in the next 12 days. And while we don't know exactly what goes on in that smoke-filled, Illuminati-like environment that is the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, this has elimination written all over it for the losers of these two games. I spent yesterday looking over a variety of so-called bracketologists, like it's a science or something. And for the last month, it's become apparent that both the Trojans and Bruins are on the bubble. And honestly, both teams have nobody to blame but themselves. The Trojans were on the cusp of a 20-win season, and then they lost 3 consecutive games. For that matter, if it weren't for an electrifying game-winning drive by Donovan Dent on Saturday, the Bruins would be an even bigger embarrassment. So the best way, what do, right? Do you really feel comfortable picking a winner if you don't exactly love either team, if you're not a lifelong UCLA or USC fan? To me, the best way to describe who should be favored tonight, in must-win games, your go-to players have to step up. Your go-to players have to be great if it is quote-unquote must win. So if you're USC, that means Chad Baker-Mazara, who willed Auburn to the Final Four last year. Problem for Baker-Mazara is he missed 3 games with a back injury. He returned Saturday, fouled out, and then all of a sudden, Oregon rallies to win. The Bruins probably have an advantage in that they have multiple options to lead the way. One would obviously be Dent. The other would be Tyler Bilodeau. But if you think I'm comfortable telling you guys to go back up the truck, load it with all your money, with all your crypto, head over to Vegas and shoot the wad on this one? Hell no, I wouldn't do that. Not at all. Also, Real España is at LAFC at 7 o'clock in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. It is the second leg of the first round. The Black and Gold have a 6-1 lead in the aggregate. So with that out of the way, let's get to the news. Center Brad Bozeman announced his retirement before the Chargers front office could try to sweet talk him into one more year of not blocking for Justin Herbert. This is the biggest hint yet, as if the play on the field wasn't a big enough hint, that despite what Charger General Manager Joe Ortiz says, the Bolts will have to reinvest heavily on interior offensive line this offseason. Because they only have one center under contract now, and Josh Kaltenberger was only on the practice squad. So, not exactly comfortable handing the keys over to him. If you watched Charger football at all last year, you could see opposing teams just leaving a trail of dead in the Bolts backfield. Pro Football Focus, or PIF, rated the Chargers' offensive line 31st in pass blocking and butt naked last in run blocking. So yeah, kind of an idea to take that cap space and throw it there. Herbert was sacked 54 times last year and pressured more than any other quarterback in the NFL. Bozeman, for his part, played 8 years in the NFL, but to be completely honest, I never saw him play a good game. He came to LA for the last 2 years because he spent the first 4 years of his career in Baltimore, and offensive coordinator Greg Roman vouched for him. And the result? Greg Roman is out of a job, guys. If somebody comes up to you with a resume and asks for a letter of reference, be careful. If there's a lesson to be learned there. As for the here and now, I think it's fair to say that if the Bolts overpay to bring in a replacement, and they have the second or third most cap space in the NFL, depending on where you go, interior offensive line is the place to do it. Yes, they would like to retain their pass rush. We know Khalil Mack and Odefe Owe are free agents, but the offensive line, the interior offensive line, is a massive priority. Centers do more than simply snap the ball. They're the ones that have to recognize what the defensive front is showing and audibilize blocking schemes to the line mates prior to the snap. That is way too much responsibility for a rookie. So no, if I were the Chargers, I think risking it in the draft would be a big mistake. Moreover, I would even go so far to say that instability at center is probably a reason that the Chargers haven't been as good as they could have been with Herbert. For more than a decade, the Chargers have had instability at center. The last center to start 3 consecutive seasons or more was Nick Hardwick back in 2014. And that was back when the Bolts were in Slime Diego. So if you're saying, okay, well, who could they bring in? The top free agent center is Tyler Linderbaum, also of Baltimore. But there's going to be a bidding war for the guy because it's not just the Chargers that could use the center. Baltimore is going to want him back. And oh, by the way, he could follow his former head coach, John Harbaugh, up to the New York Giants. That's 3 teams needing a center. So the following is not a prediction, but I would suggest free agent Connor McGovern. He worked in his own blocking scheme with Carolina, which is what the new Charger playbook is likely going to have. The other concern, though, if you're a Bolts fan, is if Bozeman's retirement is simply the first of 3 shoes to drop. We are assuming guard Mekhi Becton is waiting for a call from HR to lose his job. You might also assume as a Charger fan that you could do better than Zion Johnson at the other guard. Becton, for his part, he's only played 1 good season, and that was in Philadelphia. He came to LA and just basically stole a year's pay from the Chargers. Also, then you look at Johnson. There's going to be interested parties. The market for him should begin at $16 million a year. The higher that goes up, you could expect the Chargers to say maybe we can find a replacement for him in the draft. Bozeman had a year left on his contract, by the way, which means the Bolts will now have an additional $6 million to play with in free agency. Or Ortiz could be telling us the truth that he doesn't want to be aggressive in free agency. I don't buy it, but that's what he said. Free agency opens in 2 weeks, if you're wondering. Aubrey Pleasant, an assistant head coach who has served in a variety of roles for the Rams, is no longer on the staff. We don't know the story, but we can assume there is a story. It's more than a little plausible that Pleasant is a fall guy for how bad the secondary played. The team website, which no longer has him on the staff, by the way, said that in years past, the secondary was Pleasant's responsibility. Something tells me when the Rams' defensive coverage got ripped to shreds by a variety of teams in the second half of the year, that took a toll on Pleasant's rep. Because in previous off seasons, the dude interviewed for head coaching gigs. In recent weeks, he interviewed with 6 different teams about an open coordinator position, and he totally struck out. So if I were to guess, Sean McVay looked at the guy and said, hey, you've been with us for a while, so we don't want to outright fire you when it's open market. Why not try and get yourself another job? Somebody calls us for a reference, we'll hype you up. But what are you going to do, right? Dude's out of a gig. Jimmy Lake is going to coach DBs now. Pleasant work for 2 coaching stints with the Rams, all of it under Sean McVay. Spent a total of 7 years with the Rams. Now that left an opening for Cliff Kingsbury to take. He is now the assistant head coach. And the Rams have also hired former receiver Robert Woods for a coaching gig. He will also coach, you guessed it, wide receivers. Dodger reliever Alex Vesia made his spring training debut and retired the side in order with 2 strikeouts. Now, obviously, you hear it all the time. Spring training, meaningless game. Everything's meaningless. No meaning whatsoever to be found. But Vesia made his return to competition after losing a newborn just right before the World Series opened. So as you might imagine, for a meaningless game, this was an intense and an emotional afternoon. So he was getting all this love from fans and definitely his teammates. I don't want to go too much deeper into it. He read a statement when he came back. All I'm going to say is I respect his need for privacy. I respect his need for support. And as for getting to work, yeah, it makes sense that something resembling normalcy would be needed as well. Elsewhere in Dodger camp, Hyseong Kim maybe has the inside track to be Tommy Edman's understudy at second base while Edman recovers from injury. Maybe. We say that because the Dodgers have only played 3 exhibition games. Kim has started 2. Now, Alex Freeland was also, or is also, in the running at second. He only got time at shortstop yesterday. The reason that we can't speak definitively about who's going to be playing second while Edman recovers is because Kim is going to head to Korea for the World Baseball Classic. It's entirely plausible that the Dodgers were like, look, we're only going to learn so much by watching you on late night TV. Let's get you out there at second, get you some playing time, because you know darn well Freeland's going to be at second when you're overseas. Angel City FC. They want us to believe that they're finally going to stop brand building, right? That they're finally going to stop trying to be influencers and stop with the influencing and start paying attention to the soccering. Then ESPN came up and asked, hey, do you want to be on a soccer version of Hard Knocks? And they were like, hell to the yeah. So there's a reality series that's going to reality. If ever there's a hint that Angel City FC does not take soccer seriously, they're in a reality show. A reality series featuring 3 women's soccer teams, including our little merry band of influencers. That will debut Wednesday. Get your DVRs ready or something. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about who you think is going to survive and possibly get an NCAA tournament bid, USC or UCLA. For that matter, how would you build the Chargers offensive line back? And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.